This episode is brought with thanks to my Patreon supporters, because without them, I would have resorted to drowning squirrels for food by now. And yes, I realise drowning squirrels is extra cruel, but it gives them flavour. Hello, I'm a British person, and I've only ever been sure of one thing in my entire life, and that's the world didn't need 2 Taken sequels. But I've also been sure of another thing. Doubly sure, in fact. The world definitely didn't need a spoof of Taken. Because what would a movie like that entail? Constant references to the famous phone call scene? Check. Constant penis gags? Check. A strong story with witty dialogue? No. Over-the-top performances? Check. A 70-minute runtime with behind-the-scenes extras and bloopers just to pad it out? No. I mean, check. A ridiculous title that makes no sense? Check. And what is that ridiculous title? Ugh, that title just hurts me physically. Tooken. I mean, what does that even mean? What is that a reference to? The movie opens with Brian filming his wife Lenore giving birth. But the doctor passes out because it's a spoof and I guess silly things have to happen, which means then that Brian has to deliver the baby.
If you don't come out, I will come in there. I will find you.
Don't do this. Not yet.
And I will kill you.
We are literally a minute into this movie and we are referencing this already. I mean, screw the fact that it doesn't make sense or fit in context. Get that line in there and get it in quick.
I will never let anything happen.
Was that scene really worthy of being the pre-credits gag? Is that the best you can offer? After a flying credits scene, we find ourselves with Brian on a plane, and not being satisfied with spoofing a single Liam Neeson series, we also have to throw in a bit of non-stop as well. But just as quickly as things start to get interesting, it ends. No, you're supposed to parody cliches, not join them. Doing it twice still counts. Like in Taken, Brian is an ex-CIA agent, except here he's now a security guard. And that is literally the only difference. Even all of the characters' names are the same. That is next level parody. As his daughter Kim's birthday is fast approaching, Brian buys her a dog.
So this is a shit to zoo.
It's pronounced Shih Tzu.
What do I owe you?
Well, $2,749.12.
Shih Tzu.
Yeah, we've not heard this joke 1,000 times before. Literally. And being a spoof, we have to have some hilarious acts of violence against animals, even if they completely defy the laws of physics. Well, it is a spoof, I guess. Why not have the dog randomly launch out of the sunroof and splatter on the windscreen of the car behind? Just hilarious. Just the best. It's so funny. Brian eventually allows the dog to survive long enough so that he can take it to his now ex-wife's house, where she is currently being pushed into sex by her new boyfriend.
Everybody knows that butt sex ain't real sex, baby.
Money, I told you I'm not ready to make love to you until I know what we are.
Yeah, I drank that.
It's funny because he's black, I guess?
You know I'm allergic.
It's funny because snot, I guess?
Don't touch the dog.
Money?
It's funny because... I don't know, it's not funny. Brian beats up Kim's boyfriend and she gets mad and tells him to leave, which means he's stuck with a lame dog whilst he watches forced celebrity cameos on TV, including Donnie Wahlberg and Jenny McCarthy. You can almost hear how she's planning on firing her agent after filming this. That night, Brian discovers some Albanians moving explosives into the Puppy Emporium, and we have the movie's first slightly funny joke.
Where are you from anyways?
Philadelphia.
He then flashes his torch at them to get away, but then goes to see them the very next day at the Puppy Emporium headquarters, where he asks them what the explosives are all about.
I love all things odd.
So do we.
This is why I hate modern spoofs. They go off on tangents that, whilst absurdist and over the top, have zero connection to the overall story.
An elephant in the Albanian National Zoo ate once. A spooky 2 hours later. Dead
Okay, great. Brian just learnt that these chilies are so hot they once killed an elephant, yet he then proceeds to eat one while the villain pretends. You may assume that this was their clever way of getting rid of Brian, but no, they give him a satisfactory answer that makes him leave anyway. So what was the reason for the chili? Purely for the non-related gag. Am I just being a comedy snob now? Is that who I've become? I don't think so. I just really hate what the likes of the Scary Movie and Seltzerbergs have done to parody. Gone are the days of Naked Gun and Airplane. Sometimes a good parody will slip through the net, but most of the time we get...
Who's my bitch?
Getting tackled by his mum. Get it? It's funny because she's old. Brian runs into Lenore while collecting his Viagra from the pharmacy, and her boyfriend Moneymaker decides to propose. So Brian runs a background check on him and finds out that he's a porn star. Because... comedy. Then that night he takes the Viagra and gets the obvious reaction. Ah look, he's naked on the news. This is a lampooning an awkward situation.
Our plan failed.
Ah, okay, so the Albanians are putting explosives inside the dogs, and that's why it exploded. That makes complete sense to me now. It didn't just explode at the sight of his erect penis. What am I saying? In true Taken style, Kim asks Brian if she can go to a party, but of course he says no. But then after some spoof, he changes his mind and says yes, but only if he can take her himself.
Come on, baby, what's taking you so long?
I'm just slipping into something a little more comfortable.
I'll slip into it now. This shit need time to unfurl.
Even when the movie has a funny idea, it completely fails at the execution.
I thought you'd like it.
I'm vegan. Tofu life. Kale, yeah?
Thank God for Moneymaker. He's literally the funniest person in this movie and the only one who is making it remotely watchable. Just. Brian breaks into Lenore's home and discovers that Kim is on birth control. So he heads to the party and beats up Kim's boyfriend to the point where he ends up in hospital. And in true terrible spoof style, he doesn't end up being arrested. Hey look, here's an old lady playing video games. That's not something old ladies regularly do, so that counts as a joke, right? Wrong. Brian and his mum plant some bugs in Lenore's house because... this is our story, I guess. And they hear Moneymaker on the phone explaining that he'll ditch Lenore if she doesn't have sex with him within the next 2 weeks.
When I'm hitting it, I'm gonna FaceTime you, like last time. Yeah, okay. All right, love you, Dad.
Wow, our second funny joke. Marvellous. Now I only want to give myself a paper cut on one of my eyeballs, instead of both. Cut to Kim's birthday meal, where Brian and Moneymaker constantly attempt to outdo each other.
You know, I got a real close friend of mine to sing your birthday song.
Akon, it's Kim's birthday.
That's not Akeman.
Cause I know what you like. Girl, come get this drink.
That's definitely not Akeman. That is Fakon.
Yeah.
Yo, Money,
My man.
time's up, man. We got a bar mitzvah 8 o'clock.
Bands.
Wait, but who's the other guy then? And why even have him there if you have Akeman there to cameo in this movie? Was that the joke? I mean, can somebody help me out here? Then Moneymaker chats up this blonde.
What you got to say to that?
Do you think you can handle this?
They do know that this joke's been used 100 times before, don't they? And that they're just using it ironically? Please tell me that's the case. They then all have a car chase with the Albanians, which ends with a Taken 2 reference. Oh yes, that's right, we're on multiple films now.
Grandmother and I are about to be taken.
It's almost like that line is all they're basing this movie on. So of course they're taken. Ha! And they meet the villain, Brownfinger, a guy played by a woman, because that's hilarious.
I brought you here to tell you my evil plan, so that maybe later you can try to stop me from killing you and your family.
Meta. Brownfinger's evil plan is to fill puppies with bombs in revenge for his childhood dog being taken away from him. And that has what to do with Taken?
I think you should let us go. But if you don't let us go, we will escape. We will find you. And we will kill you.
Stop! We get it! It's a Taken spoof. I am more than aware of that by now. We stick with the Taken 2 references as Brian gets out a massive phone from his trousers and calls Kim, telling her to use a grenade so we can figure out where they are. Great, kill the only funny character.
Okay, you are 5.8 miles east-west of Puppy Emporium.
What, you couldn't have guessed that? Somehow, Money survived. Yay! And he takes Kim to the Emporium and she finds her dad. What then follows is, well, not much to be honest. There's a recurring gag involving Money having his arm progressively blown off, and it culminates with Brian having a final showdown with Brownfinger. But what weapon will he use? Please. Please, please no. I don't think I can deal with this. Was this movie written by a 13-year-old? And I have no idea whether I need to censor this on YouTube or not, so I'd better do it just to be safe better than sorry. Back me on Patreon for the full uncensored version, I guess. I suppose that makes me some sort of smut peddler. Oh well, something to add to the curriculum vitae. So yes, they have a sword fight, and of course Brian wins by impaling him. Isn't that just the worst thing you've ever seen? By a mile. So now we're all happy, and Brian and Lenore fall back in love, and Moneymaker finds happiness with Grandma. 'Cause a black guy having sex with an old white lady is hilarious.
Brian, are you okay?
Captain speaking. I had the strangest dream.
You can fuck right off if you're doing this cliché. Whether it was all a dream or not, Kim finally has sex and Brian becomes a murderer at the end. What a load of absolute shite. The trouble with spoof movies these days is that they focus on spoofing a single movie and not the tropes within the genres. Movies like Hot Shots and Airplane are so good because they exaggerate cliches. Once you take specific moments from specific movies, they stop being spoofs and start being references. And references on their own are not funny. I've been a British person. I remember it, so you don't have to. Oh, hello. This is the point in the credits where your name would be if you were to support the show on Patreon. You'd also get access to old episodes of Shameful sequels that are no longer available online, as well as the chance to vote on upcoming episodes, which would be nice, wouldn't it? But if you would like to see more episodes of Shameful sequels and keep the show alive, then please do consider supporting the show at this link on Patreon. It would be absolutely marvellous if you could.